Hi guys, it's me, Chatter HD, and welcome to day 2, the qualifying watch along for the 2018 Brazilian Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys are doing well, whether you're from South America, North America, the UK, Europe, Australia, Asia. No matter where you are, hopefully you are doing good for this qualifying session. And we definitely do have a close and competitive battle between the top two teams for pole position after what we've seen in practice 3, but hopefully you guys are all doing okay. But in case you have missed the results of practice 3, guys, let me take you through them right now. And the top 10 was Vettel fastest from Hamilton second, Bottas third, Raikkonen fourth, and then the two Red Bulls of Verstappen and Ricciardo 5th and 6th, and then the two Haases of Magnussen and Grosjean P7 and P8, Gasly P9 and Charles Leclerc in P10. So Haas are definitely in that midfield battle looking very fast. And I have to say the Ferrari powered cars are looking very, very good. And then your bottom 10 is Hülkenberg, Ocon, Ericsson, Sainz, Sorokin, Hartley, Stroll, and then Alonso, Perez and Stoffel Van Dorn. So definitely an interesting order right now here in Sao Paulo, and I can't wait for qualifying because, especially in the midfield, the gaps between the teams are so close here in Brazil. But as ever, let's now preview how the top 3 teams are going to do in qualifying here today. First off is Mercedes. Now, after watching practice 3, it's become quite clear that in the corners, that's where Mercedes at this track, I wouldn't say are better, but definitely a lot closer to Ferrari in the corners. But once we get to the straights, Mercedes just don't have the power to compete with Ferrari in that respect. So they have to be praying for rain here in qualifying. I think Mercedes, it's not impossible for them not to get pole position. It definitely could happen, but because the first and third sectors is all about power, and Ferrari do have so much power and more power than Mercedes, I don't see how Mercedes can pull that back in the middle sector with those corners. I just don't see, I really don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't know what you guys think, but they just don't have a quick enough car in a straight line. It's pretty simple, to be honest. I really think they are going to struggle against Ferrari in qualifying. Again, it's going to be close. I'd say, you know, with Lewis Hamilton, he normally pulls out an amazing lap in Q3. He'll definitely be closer to Vettel than he was in practice 3, because in practice 3, he didn't really get, you know, many clean laps together in practice 3 and did have a slight issue with his car at the start of that session. But even if he does pull out a great lap, I don't think he will get pole position. I just don't think the Mercedes has enough pace here in Interlagos. Next up is Ferrari, and Ferrari do have the fastest car, and the reason is not necessarily because in the corners they're quite good, but also in a straight line, this Ferrari is so fast. In the speed traps in practice 3, 4 of the top 5 were Ferrari powered cars. That just shows you that Ferrari do right now have the best engine on the grid. And as I said a minute ago, because Sector 1 and Sector 3 is all about power, how can anyone stop Ferrari getting on pole position? I just don't see it. If they bottle it, then maybe Mercedes can get pole that way, or if it does rain, of course, but I don't see how Ferrari won't be on pole position. They just look so fast. This circuit absolutely suits their car right now to a T. This is a circuit Ferrari would have been dreaming to come to right now, because again, it just suits everything that's good about the Ferrari car. And they have to be favourites for pole position. I wouldn't say a front row lockout. I don't think they'll dominate qualifying. It will still be close. But just not maybe as close as it should be if Mercedes had, say, more straight line speed compared to Ferrari. But again, Ferrari are, for me, the favourites for pole position. And next up is Red Bull. They're not going to repeat their heroics from Mexico. They are clearly the third fastest team. Their car is so slow in a straight line compared to Mercedes and Ferrari. They look, at best, 3/4 of a second behind those two teams. And they're not that far ahead of teams like Haas and Sauber. So they have to watch out that they don't make any mistakes, Red Bull, because in a similar fashion to what happened at the Austrian Grand Prix, there is a small possibility that if Haas do put in a great performance, they could end up splitting the Red Bulls in qualifying. Of course, Daniel Ricciardo does have a 5-place grid penalty, so Ricciardo pretty much, unless he has an issue, of course, in qualifying, he's going to start either P10 or P11 realistically, but Red Bull do have to keep an eye out for what's behind them because they are losing so much time down the straights. They're losing at least half a second. That is a lot at a track like this, especially down the straight. So Red Bull not looking anywhere near as good as they were in Mexico, but to be honest, that was to be expected. But guys, what do you think about those top three teams? For Mercedes, do you think they are second fastest? And do you think they can go for pole position? For Ferrari, do you think, like me, that they are the favourites for pole? And for Red Bull, do you think they could be under threat from Haas in qualifying? I don't think realistically they will. I think Haas just won't have enough pace to get up to Red Bull. But you never know. We saw in Austria, Haas are very, very quick down the straights with that Ferrari engine. So I guess anything is possible. Make sure to put in the chat right now and I will answer any questions and read out your comments. Right, now let's take a look, shall we? Gina, great to see him. Leclerc to split Red Bull. That would be a shock. I don't think if anyone does split the Red Bulls, I don't think it will be a Sauber. It's most likely going to be a Haas, from what I've seen so far. Sauber podium this weekend. That's from Halam899. No, I don't see that at all. Maybe if it rains and there's loads of retirements. But you're asking a lot for that to happen. Rise, who for pole if it rains? If it rains, I'd probably say Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen. And the chances of rain, the last time I looked, it was a 20% chance. So not great. I think the chances of rain are better for the race tomorrow. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I think it's going to be dry in qualifying today. Scuderia di Ferrari are going to kill it. Mercedes are going to pray for rain. And Red Bull will be fine. Plus, this is a Max Verstappen track. I wouldn't quite say it's a Verstappen track. I mean, in the rain, sure. But in dry conditions, I wouldn't really say it's, a great track for Max. So, I kind of disagree with that. But there you go. Botty Gamer, my prediction and hope is for Sebastian to Vettel it again so the Valtteri can win. Halam899, Kimi for pole and win. I don't think Kimi will get pole. I don't think he will at all. I think when it comes to victory, he has a much, much better chance of that than pole position because he is just way better in the races than he is in qualifying. John makes a great point. It's Brazil, you can't predict the weather. True. Right, let me just read through some more. JB, can someone explain the times for quali and the race? On my digital calendar I downloaded on my phone, it says 6 PM, but it sounds like from the comments it's starting at 5 PM. Yeah, it's starting at 5 p.m. because as I look to my left where my TV screen is, Sky F1's program for qualifying has started, and it always starts an hour before qualifying gets underway. So it is starting at 5 p.m. and the race tomorrow does start at 10 past 5 on Sunday. Kimi for Prime Minister. Gina, can you imagine what 2018 could have been for Ferrari? It could have been a very successful season where they took both the drivers and the constructors championships. I think if Lewis Hamilton was in the Ferrari, then I think Ferrari would have took both titles. I really think that. I really do. Even though Ferrari made so many strategy mistakes, Vettel has made more costly mistakes in terms of the points he has thrown away. So I think if Lewis Hamilton was in that Ferrari, I think Hamilton would have won the drivers still, and Ferrari would be taking the constructors. JB says the actual qualifying session starting at 5 p.m. Yes, it is. It starts in about 50 minutes time. Right, let me just read through some more comments, make sure I don't miss any. Lots of people saying Fernando pole, Sorokin pole, Ericsson pole. E7 suspect, it'll be within a tenth for pole, although if it rains, easy Hamilton pole. I wouldn't say an easy pole for Hamilton, because I think Max Verstappen might have something to say about that, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see for sure. Legion, do you think a Vettel is to be expected? If it starts to rain, then probably expect it then. But I think in the dry, Ferrari and Vettel should take pole position. They really should. No excuses for me. Gina says, if it rains, Hamilton pole. If it is dry, Vettel pole. Yeah, I don't disagree. Williams lock out the front row. Right, I'll just read out a couple more and then I will move on to the midfield, a very close midfield here in Brazil. E7 suspect, Sev pole, Hamilton P2, they make contact into turn 3. That would be very, very exciting if they did so. I am praying for rain tomorrow. If it does rain tomorrow, you can expect a thrilling Grand Prix in Sao Paulo. People going for some very interesting choices for pole. Good evening to Max Claydon. Just looking at a final comment that I can just answer quickly. Right, I think I'm just going to move on because there's lots of comments going very quickly. So I'm just going to move on now, guys, to your midfield. First off is McLaren. McLaren, to me, they do look, at best, probably at the back with Williams, to be honest. Which is expected. We did not think they were going to be fast this weekend. Their car is the slowest car in a straight line, because they have so much drag on that car. And there's not really much to say, to be honest. Just look at their performance at power circuits during 2018. Spa, Monza, Suzuka. They were miles off. Absolutely miles off. So expect that today. They just need desperately for this season to end, because it has been so embarrassing for the team from Woking. Next up is Renault, who to me are about where I expected them to be. They just cannot get in the top 10 because they don't have the power to do so. Teams like Haas, Sauber, Force India, I'd say are probably just about faster. And maybe even Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso is faster. Renault just don't have the pace. where they have been this weekend is just not a surprise at all. They're on the outside looking in when it comes to the top 10. They're going to be praying for rain in today's qualifying session and for the race as well. They just don't have the pace to be in the top 10. In the dry, they're going to have to hope for either an amazing lap from one of their drivers, which, their drivers are good, but I don't think they can produce that great of a lap. Or just plain luck. Maybe, a couple of the cars that are expected to be ahead, maybe having, an accident or having a reliability issue. Because I just don't see how Renault can get into Q3. And next up is Force India, who I have to say still are not looking as quick as I thought they would be. I thought realistically Force India would be 5th fastest, so P9 and P10. They've never really been in that position this weekend at all. I think Esteban Ocon was P10 in practice 1, but then in practice 2, I don't think they were in the top 10, and they weren't in the top 10 for practice 3, so Force India definitely slower than I was expecting. I didn't think Sauber would be ahead of them, and Sauber do look like they have a faster car. Just disappointing for Force India. I don't know what's happened over the last couple races. It just seems as though maybe they've given up on this car development-wise and they're now focusing everything on 2019. It wouldn't be a bad thing to do from that respect, but they've definitely, I'd say, since Suzuka, they have got worse. Absolutely no doubt about it. Suzuka, I think Russia, Singapore, they had the best car in the midfield. And since the US Grand Prix, even though Ocon was best of the rest in qualifying, they just haven't had the best car in the midfield. So definitely Force India at the end here of 2018 going backwards. Of course, that's not good when it comes to them trying to pass McLaren for P6 in the constructors. Not good at all, but realistically their chances of that, I think, are basically gone. So not good there for Force India, but still P7 in the constructors, considering they had to restart in terms of points again, is not the worst thing in the world. But guys, for those three teams, for McLaren, can they be better than the back 2 rows of the grid? For Renault, do you think they can get a car into Q3? And for Force India, do you think they will step it up in qualifying? Or do you think that they just don't have the pace right now to do so? Do you think they're going to be beaten by Haas and Sauber like they were in Mexico? Or not by Haas in Mexico, but they were definitely beaten by Sauber in Mexico. What do you guys think about those three teams? Put in the chat right now, and I will answer any questions and read out your comments. Right, let's take a look. John, the midfield stopped development after summer break. They got what they got to race with. The midfielders not stopped development. They absolutely haven't. Singapore, a lot of the teams, if not all of them, brought upgrades. McLaren have continued to bring upgrades to their car. They brought a front wing upgrade to Kota, and they brought one for this weekend as well. So the midfield teams have not given up. Some of them are still developing their car for the end of this season, and kind of there's also a look towards, of course, 2019. Let's not forget that. Goodbye to JB, who says he is off to watch qualifying. Daniel Crawford, is it going to rain? I think there is a 20% chance of rain for qualifying, so not great. I think the chances of rain are better for the race than it is for today. So it looks as though it's going to be a dry qualifying session. Hello to Ronan Brady, who said, who says, sorry, I joined yesterday just as you were finishing. Yep, I saw that. Thankfully, you've joined at a good time, as we are 40 minutes away from the start of qualifying. Hallam899, only way McLaren will get points if half the grid retires. Very true. Yeah, McLaren are just so slow. McLaren upgrades really means downgrade for McLaren. He also says that. That's true. I can't even remember the last time McLaren brought an upgrade and it worked. You can say, you know, this B-spec car, but if you compare it to 2017, it didn't make their car better at all. Because I remember when they brought the B-spec car for the Spanish Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso qualified in P8, but in 2017, with the McLaren Honda, he qualified in P7. So, I don't understand really how the B-spec car was really a serious upgrade. It definitely didn't do what they thought it would. It probably should have kept the first version of the 2018 McLaren. Definitely was performing better. Gina, do you think McLaren will be as bad in 2019? I don't see improvement in my opinion. In 2019, I think McLaren will be just as bad, if not worse. I really think that, because the management structure that's at that team hasn't... I mean, yeah, they got rid of Eric Boulier, but it hasn't really changed at all. And it needs to, because Zach Brown, in my opinion, is not fit to run a team like McLaren. He's a car salesman at the end of the day. He's just a car salesman. He doesn't have the mentality to run a team like McLaren. So I think he needs to go. Someone's saying that Pat Fry is back at the team. He is back at McLaren. He might make a difference for McLaren, but I don't think it will be for 2019. But I don't see how McLaren are going to improve. I don't see it. I think McLaren, if McLaren do start improving, I don't think it will be until 2020. I think 2019 they're going to be just as bad, if not worse. And then if they start to improve after that, say 2020, they can improve a bit, and then, I don't know, by 2022, 2023, be closer to the top teams. But right now, and for next year, I don't see them being anywhere near Mercedes and Ferrari. Someone just saying that, I think McLaren will win the Constructors. I wouldn't stick by that prediction. I really wouldn't. They're most likely going to finish probably 7th or lower in the Constructors next year. Legion saying, how about Williams, the other British team? I think Williams will be worse next year because Martini are leaving, so they're going to lose a lot of cash. The Stroll family, of course, are leaving at the end of 2018 completely, so they're going to lose a lot of cash, which means they're not going to be able to develop the car. And they're going to have, at most, one pay driver for 2019. So Williams are going to be, like McLaren, just as bad, if not worse. Not looking good for Williams at all. McLaren will kill Norris and Sainz's careers, in my opinion. Yep, I think they will. McLaren, they've been killing careers ever since Sergio Perez joined that team. In 2013. You can even say since 2007 with Fernando Alonso, or go back to Montoya in 2005. They've been doing it for a long time, and it's because of the way the team just operates. That's why that happens. Will Norris outperform Sainz next year? That's from Ojas. For Norris, I don't think he will. I think he'll be close, but I think Sainz will have the better of Lando Norris. McLaren and Williams are making British motorsport look like a joke. Absolutely. McLaren have killed Stoffel's career. Yep. That's from Ronan Brady. Yeah, they have. They've also killed Kevin Magnussen's career. I won't say they killed his career, but they almost did. Sergio Perez had an effect on his career. Heikki Kovalainen, Fernando Alonso in his first spell, Montoya in 2005 and 2006. Montoya left F1 after his spell at McLaren. Just shows you what he thought. I guess of just the situation for himself at McLaren. Right, I'll just read out a couple more comments and then I will move on to the rest of the midfield. Ronan Brady, someone said to me they think McLaren have dropped off due to their focus on sports cars. It wouldn't be a surprise if that's why they have. Because if you don't focus 100% of your efforts on one thing, let me just clear my throat again, then you're not going to be as successful as you could possibly be at that certain thing. You're not going to. You're absolutely not going to. And again, if you don't concentrate 100% on what you're doing, you're not going to be successful at it. You're not going to at all. Absolutely no chance. You have to concentrate 100% on something if you want to make it a success. McLaren definitely ruined Hamilton's career. That's on Ben McCarthy. I don't think so. You have to look at it at the end of the day. They didn't have to give Lewis Hamilton a seat at McLaren for 2007 because at the end of the day he was just a rookie. So I don't think they ruined his career. He says he's joking, but I'm not sure you were. I'm not sure you were. But right, I'll move on from those teams and go on to the rest of the midfield. First off is Williams. I think Williams do have the slowest car. They don't have clearly the slowest car. They're kind of similar-ish with McLaren. But then, I wouldn't be surprised if they got a car into Q2 because they have done it in the last couple races. They have surprised us. But, again, realistically, I don't see it. I do not see it from Williams. Next up is Toro Rosso. For one of their cars, Pierre Gasly, he could spring a surprise and get into Q3. He was P9 in practice 3. Toro Rosso look way better than they did yesterday. Yesterday, they looked like they were back there with McLaren and Williams. They just didn't look good at all. So, nice to see that Toro Rosso have improved over the last day or so, but I'm not sure they're going to make it into the top 10. I'm not sure they have enough pace in that car. I think in Q3, it's probably going to be the two Haases, Charles Leclerc, and one of the Force Indias making it into Q3. I don't know who's going to be, say, P11 and P12, but I think Gasly will just about miss out and qualify in between P11 and P13. So, that's where I think he'll be. But of course, he could surprise. So we'll see in qualifying if he can. Next up is Haas, who do have the best car in the midfield. No doubt about it. They've had the best car in the midfield this weekend ever since practice 1 started. Their car just looks clearly ahead of Sauber, Force India, Renault, Toro Rosso and the rest. And I would be surprised if Haas did not end up with a 4th row start. Or, a 4th row qualifying position, of course, because Ricciardo has his penalty. If they don't get P7 and P8, it would actually be quite a disappointing qualifying. They really should finish in P7 and P8. Now, I've seen some comments from Romain Grosjean saying they need to have a similar weekend to Austria, where they finished, of course, in the race there at Spielberg in 4th and 5th. But realistically, even if they qualify P7 and P8 and start the race from P6 and P7 and have a good result, I just don't see how they can close the gap to Renault in these final 2 races. I don't see it at all. I think Renault will take 4th in the Constructors, and I wouldn't be surprised if Renault confirmed that at this Grand Prix. If it does rain tomorrow, we'll have to see, of course, in the race. But for qualifying, Haas should be the best of the rest. And last of all is Sauber, who have looked very good this weekend. Charles Leclerc looks consistently a top 10 runner, was very good in practice 3 until he kind of finished lower down because I don't think he got a final run in on a fresh set of super soft tyres. But this weekend, Leclerc has looked absolutely a consistent top 10 runner, so it'll be interesting to see just where he will finish in the top 10 if indeed he does get in that top 10. For Marcus Ericsson, he has a quick car, but I'm not sure that he himself has enough pace to get into the top 10. Don't be surprised if he does, because the Sauber is quick, but because it's so close for, P9, P10, P11 and P12 on the grid, I think realistically he's probably going to end up in, say, P11 or P12. So, yeah, I think Ericsson probably won't make it into the top 10, but Charles Leclerc absolutely should. But guys, what do you think for those 4 teams for Williams? Can they get a car into Q2 for Toro Rosso? Do you think Pierre Gasly can get into the top 10? And what do you think of Toro Rosso going into qualifying with, of course, that Honda power unit that's being put to the test at the final power circuit of 2018? For Haas, do you think they can get close to Red Bull? Do you think they can split the Red Bulls? What do you think? Put in the chat right now. And for Sauber, can they get both cars into the top 10? I don't think they can. I think they'll get one car in the top 10. But there's definitely a possibility that they could get both cars in. Definitely a possibility. Put in the chat right now, guys. And I will, again, answer any questions and read out your comments. Right, let's take a look. Ronan Brady, Williams will lock out the back row. Yeah, I agree with that. Gina, do you think Sauber can be 6th or even 5th with Kimi next year in the Constructors if they keep developing like they have? I don't think they'll be 5th. I think that's a bit too far for Sauber. I think it is. And also I don't think Sauber will have as consistent a driver lineup as, Haas do, for example, or, well, maybe not Force India, but I think you get my point. I wouldn't be surprised if Sauber finished in P6 because, as you say, they are making a lot of progress. But I don't know. It's too close to call right now. I think what I might do during December, because we are going to start, by the way, guys, if you did not know, we are going to start doing the podcasts live on a Saturday during the off-season. I think maybe on one of the podcasts, I'm probably going to say who I think. Say, kind of like an early prediction for 2019. I'll probably say who I think is going to be, fastest and who's not, and then who I think will win the Constructors. And stuff like that. But right now, it's way too close to call as to who's going to be in what position in the Constructors in 2019. Still I Rise says, Vettel first and Bottas second in qualifying. Interesting. I will get on, by the way, guys, to my predictions for qualifying and for the top 3 in about 10 minutes time, so don't worry, that is coming up. What do you think about Toro Rosso versus Sauber in the Constructors? I think Sauber will take it because they have a faster car for the final 2 races. You think Haas drivers are consistent? Lol. They're not consistent, but I think, how am I trying to say this? With Haas, they've had that lineup going into 2019. It will be the 3rd consecutive year they've had that lineup. For Sauber, it's an all-new lineup for 2019. And I don't think Giovinazzi is going to be consistent next year at all. So that's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think Haas have a consistent driver lineup, but I think you get my point. Ronan Brady, I think Haas would be ahead of Renault with a slightly better driver lineup. I don't think Haas have a slightly better driver lineup. I think Renault do. Haas just have had the faster car in 2018, but have not capitalised on it. Kind of like Ferrari. Ben McCarthy, Haas lost 4th because of inexperience in F1. These key mistakes, in my opinion, is down to that. They will learn. Yep, I think that's what it is, absolutely. If Haas entered F1 in 2006, I think Haas would have probably easily took 4th in the Constructors with the car they've had in terms of pace. Right, let me just read out a few more, then I'll move on to my one to watch for qualifying. Gina, Hulk and Ricciardo must be one of the strongest lineups for 2019. Yeah, I think it is. Absolutely. I will say, though, for 2019, I don't know what you guys think, but I feel as though the lineups for next season are not as strong as it has been this season. I don't know why I think that, but it just feels as though the lineups are not as strong in terms of team by team for 2019. Hallam899, do you think if Fernando had gone to Ferrari in 2007, let me just read that. Do you think if Fernando had gone to Ferrari in 2007, he would be a 4-time world champion? If he had gone to Ferrari and Kimi had stayed at McLaren, then yeah, Fernando, he would have been the number 1 driver, I think, at Ferrari. Yeah, I think 2007 and 2008, he would have won at least one of those championships. So, I don't think he would have drove for Ferrari as long as he, I don't think he would have stayed at Ferrari from 2007 until 2014, when in, reality, he did leave the Scuderia, but yeah, he would have won a championship with Ferrari if he joined in 2007, because the Ferrari car in 07 and 08 was way better than the cars in 2010, 2011, 2012, 13 and 2014. Ronan Brady, he probably would have gone to Ferrari then if it were not for signing for McLaren in 2005. Well, I think the reason he didn't go to Ferrari is because Kimi Raikkonen signed a contract quite early with Ferrari for 2007. I think midway through 2005. I think at the French Grand Prix of 2005. Kimi signed a pre-contract to drive for Ferrari for 2007. So, and someone saying there, Ronan Brady saying July 2005. Yeah, that's when it was. If Kimi didn't sign that, and say going into 2006, there was no pre-contract for anyone, I think Fernando probably might have ended up at Ferrari. Crystal Racing says that he disagrees on next year's driver lineups being weaker. If you want to put in the chat why, then I will read it out. But right, I think we will move on to my one to watch for qualifying today. And by the way, guys, make sure in the chat to put your one to watch for qualifying as well. And my one to watch is the Haas of Romain Grosjean. Yesterday in practice 1 and practice 2, he was P7 both times, clearly ahead of his teammate and clearly ahead of other midfield drivers. Now in practice 3, he was behind K-Mag, but this weekend has looked faster over the weekend so far, and I think he will be faster in qualifying. The Haas car, of course, is very fast. The Ferrari power unit is mostly responsible for why Haas are so fast this weekend. But definitely, for me, Romain Grosjean is the one to watch. And if Haas do split a Red Bull, I think it will be Grosjean, just like he did at Austria this year, splitting the 2 Red Bulls there. But guys, what do you think about that? Who is your one to watch? Is it Romain Grosjean? Is it Charles Leclerc, Kevin Magnussen, Ocon, Gasly, Perez? Who is it? Who is your one to watch for qualifying today? Make sure to put in the chat right now, and I will read out who you think we need to watch out for in qualifying today. Right, let's take a look. Gina says, my one to watch is Charles Leclerc. That's not really a surprise. James Eric saying Leclerc. Addiction agrees with me on Grosjean, but also says Gasly. Apex Racing, do you think it will rain? There is, I think, a 20 or 30% chance of rain. So I don't think it will. Crystal Racing, to follow up with his disagreement, says drivers like Ericsson and Hartley being out, Sirotkin being gone, with Giovinazzi, Albon, Russell and Kubica in. I don't think, by the way, Kubica will take that seat at Williams. I don't think he will. Williams need the money. I don't think Sirotkin's going anywhere. I think it'll be Sirotkin and Russell at Williams. I think mostly the reason I think that is because Ocon is probably going to be without a seat in 2019. I think that is a massive detraction from the quality of the midfield. I really do. Simon Cragland, great to see him. He says, want to watch his Leclerc, Botti Gamer, Ocon. Ronan Brady saying sights to be different. Just looking. Apex Racing says science. Nigel Warswick, I think it is, or Warswick. Sorry if I've absolutely destroyed your name. Says Valtteri Bottas. Crystal Racing says Kubica has Polish petrol money. Sirotkin's backers are facing charges in Russia. If Kubica does have more money, then he will get that seat. Don't get me wrong, but if Sirotkin has more money, they're not gonna hesitate in selecting Sergei Sirotkin to be the driver alongside George Russell. It's basically a competition of who has the fattest bank account for that second Williams seat, which is so sad. It shouldn't be the case that whoever has the fattest bank account gets the drive. Should not be the case at all. It should be based on quality, but that's the way F1 is. Nothing we can do about it. It's been happening ever since the sport started. Simon Cragland, Magnussen will qualify P7, so maybe K-Mag is the one to watch. I know you'll be supporting him a lot. He should be at least P8. He really should. Addiction, Sirotkin is underrated. He is really good. Same goes for Van Dorn. I think Sirotkin has been better than people think in 2018. I think Sirotkin, when it comes down to pace, is faster than Lance Stroll. I think he is. Maybe in the races, Sirotkin isn't as consistent, but I think pace-wise, Sergei Sirotkin is the better driver. I did see that story. That's from Crystal Racing, just saying Kubica has had an offer for a race seat from Williams, but also a role as a development driver at Ferrari. I have seen that. Well, if Williams are willing to take him on as a race driver, it has to be Williams, surely. GoFundMe for Williams. I definitely wouldn't try to start that up. Patreon page for Williams. Just looking. Right, I'm just going to look at a final comment before we go on to my predictions for qualifying. Simon Cragland, it's difficult to judge how good Sirotkin has been this year is because of the bad car, but also because he's racing against Stroll, who isn't that great of a driver. True. Absolutely true. And I will say, when it comes to Lance Stroll, the biggest criticism for me of Stroll in 2017 was, in qualifying, how much slower he was than Felipe Massa. That was my biggest criticism. If he was, obviously because Massa's off the grid, if he was going to improve that, then he would have to be thoroughly beating Sirotkin in qualifying, but he hasn't. I think Sirotkin has outqualified Stroll this season. It's still close, but I think Sirotkin has. So, Stroll has not improved his pace. I don't think Lance Stroll has really improved at all. I think he's not crashing as much, which is a good thing, but pace-wise, I don't think he's actually improved, and I still don't think that Lance Stroll is good enough to be an F1. I really don't. But anyway, we'll move on, guys, now to my predictions for qualifying here in Brazil. Make sure to put yours in the chat below after I have finished mine. So, for pole position here in Sao Paulo, I'm going for Sebastian Vettel because Vettel, over the years, has been very good at this track, and the Ferrari is the fastest car here in Sao Paulo. It is so fast down the straights. If they don't get pole, it's going to be a massive disappointment for Ferrari. They have to get pole position, and I think Vettel is the man to do it. He has looked very fast this weekend. In practice 3, he was so quick. The Ferrari looks so good through the corners, and with the figures down the speed traps, the Ferrari is the quickest in a straight line. So I would be surprised if Sebastian Vettel was not on pole position. In second place on the front row, I am going to go Lewis Hamilton. Now, the Ferrari car is the fastest, but I don't think it is in a dominant fashion. I think Lewis Hamilton will still be, a tenth and a half behind, but I just don't think, even if he pulls out a great lap, that car is quick enough to get pole position. I just don't see it. It should be, though, a very close battle for pole. I can't wait to see it, of course, as qualifying starts in about 10 minutes time. But yeah, I just don't think the Mercedes car is fast enough. I don't think it is. So I'm going Lewis Hamilton in second place, and then in third place, maybe a bit of surprise, I am going for the Iceman, Kimi Raikkonen, in third. And the reason is, when it comes to qualifying and even the races, Kimi is very good at Brazil. I believe he has qualified in the top 3 6 times here in the past. He qualified in the top 3 last season, of course. He won his World Championship here. He's always been good at this track. Not, say, as good as Spa or even, say, Silverstone, which has always been a good track for him, but this has always been, say, in his top 5 best when it comes to performances from Kimi Raikkonen. And because Ferrari do have a fast car, I think Kimi will be in third place. And then after that, Bottas fourth, Verstappen 5th, Ricciardo 6th, and then to complete the top 10, I'd say Grosjean P7, Magnussen P8, Leclerc P9, and Esteban Ocon in P10. But guys, what are your thoughts going into qualifying, and who are you predicting for pole position, for second place, third place, fourth, fifth, sixth? What do you think is going to happen in Sao Paulo? Put in the chat right now, and for the next 10 minutes before qualifying starts, I will read out your comments and answer any questions. Before I do though, let's just move on to a couple of images. By the way, nice to see that we've got almost 100 people watching the qualifying watch-along at the moment. Just to say, if you are new to the channel, we do this every race weekend, and we will be doing this for 2019, so don't forget to subscribe. Either bottom right of the screen or click on my channel name and go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel. Right, let's read out some predictions. Let's get into it. So, Ben McCarthy says, Vettel on pole, Hamilton second, Bottas third. Someone's saying, I think, Kemal, I think it is, saying Verstappen might be better than Raikkonen and Bottas. I don't think he will. The Red Bull is just too slow in a straight line. Scott Gaming says Hamilton first, Vettel second, Bottas third. Hallam899, Vettel on pole, Kimi second, Lewis third. So obviously, he thinks Ferrari are going to be very fast here in qualifying today. Hello to Frederick, who's just joined the watch along. Great to see you. John, Vettel on pole, Bottas second, and Kimi third. Interesting. Legion says Vettel on pole, Raikkonen second, Hamilton third, Bottas fourth, Verstappen fifth, Ricciardo sixth, and then Magnussen, Leclerc, and Grosjean. Okay. Frederick says he has Bottas getting the pole position. Ronan Brady with some interesting predictions there. Just looking, and someone just saying that Kimi also does well at Bahrain. He absolutely does. That's a great track for Kimi. Botty Gamer says, I expect Hamilton on pole, Bottas second, Raikkonen third, and Vettel to crash. Let's not jinx it. I want to see a good, battle between the two, Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton today. Ronan Brady, bottle of Vettel, Hamilton second, and Kimi third. Interesting way of putting it. Let me try and read some more. Just looking. Crystal Racing saying Kimi to eke out Vettel and Hamilton third. Interesting. A Kimi pole position would be great to see, of course, because this is his penultimate race for the Scuderia. Maybe Bottas can surprise us and qualify top 3. It wouldn't be surprised if he qualified in third place. I think if he got onto the front row, that would be a bit of a surprise. Let me just move on to a nice image there showing you the backdrop of where we're racing at. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Prussia, great to see him. Says Vettel first, Hamilton second, and Kimi Raikkonen in third. McLaren to lock out the back row, and Will F1. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a car on the back row. If they locked out the back row, that would be so embarrassing. Because, guys, if you remember, last year, Fernando Alonso was in the top 10. He qualified, I think, in 8th or 9th, or even might be P10, but he finished the Grand Prix in P8 behind the Williams of Felipe Massa. It just shows you how quickly F1 moves in terms of the rate of development and just the sheer, the amount of times the order, the running order just changes around. Crystal Racing, imagine a fluke with Bottas, Grosjean and Perez and the memes flooding social media. That would be great. Liberty Media is going to reverse the field this weekend. This is the thing. You would still get Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull in the top 6 positions. That's how ridiculous the lack of competition is right now. As the F1 intro is now playing, and qualifying is now, guys, 5 minutes away. So I'll just cut to another image here. There you go, of Daniel Ricciardo. Hopefully no reliability issues this weekend. I think that's Arc Invider, I think it is. Says Vettel and Hamilton front row. John just commenting on the lack of competition. Sad state it is. Yeah. The gap between the top 3 and the midfield is way too big. If you look back at the race result of Mexico, the highest placed midfield runner, Nico Hülkenberg, who finished in P6, was 2 laps down on the race winner. 2 laps. And, you know, in Australia, even though there was a safety car, Hülkenberg and, you know, I think Alonso, who was up in 5th, and the Haas's before they retired, they were nowhere near as slow compared to the top teams as, you know, as they are now. And I know that's because, you know, the top teams have a lot more cash, but it is still embarrassing to say the least. Botti Gamer, I expect Ricciardo's car on fire at some point in qualifying or the race. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Right, I will start getting some images very soon. As they're just showing the classic moments from the Brazilian Grand Prix. Of course, that famous moment back in 2008. And Martin Brundle asking the question we all wanted to ask, is that Glock? What a famous quote. Right, let me see what you guys are saying coming into qualifying. The gap has been growing a lot since 2016. That's on Ryan Brady. That is true, but if you look at 2017, there were races. By the way, I'm just looking at the screen. It's very dark in Interlagos. There are parts of the track which is coated in sun, but there's lots of parts of the sky which are very dark and miserable. So, I don't know if it's going to rain or not. It looks... Oh, that looks like a massive rain shower on the radar there. That's close. So you never know, guys. But yeah, like last year, Force India, there were races where Force India were going for a podium. Like, for example, Canada in 2017, Baku. They were quite close, if not ahead of Red Bull. But then this year... Even though, of course, you had Baku, where Force India were very fast. Haas in Austria. And in, I think, Australia as well. Even though they were quick, they're still miles off the top 3 teams. It just shows you when the regulations settle, the top teams will always outdevelop the smaller teams by such a massive rate. But, right, we're getting ready for qualifying. And by the way, just to let you guys know, and I forgot to mention this, Esteban Ocon has a 5-place grid penalty for tomorrow's race because of a, or it says on the screen now, just said on the screen, a non-compliant gearbox change. So, Ocon, most likely going to start in about 15th place. But here you go, guys. This is Sao Paulo right now. Definitely mixed, I'd say, right now. There is rain in the area for sure. No doubt about it. And Ultraman, well, he's changed his name, but it's Ultraman Nexus. Great to see him back. Hopefully everything with him is going all good. He says, happy birthday to Brendan Hartley. And that is true. Happy birthday to the Kiwi. 29th birthday today, I think I just saw. So indeed, happy birthday. But qualifying starts right now. So Q1 is underway. 18 minutes of qualifying is about to start, and a lot of the teams are coming out because there is a threat of rain. Botty Gamer, could you please say something nice about Hartley? I have said, nice things. He's a very nice guy. I think in the races, his performances are kind of overlooked, and he doesn't put in that bad a performance in the races, but when it comes to qualifying pace, he's nowhere near good enough. As we are getting a lot of cars on the track, we have probably 75% of the grid on the track for their outlaps. So we will start getting some laps going very, very shortly. And by the way, guys, if you are new to the watch-alongs, what I do, obviously, because I can't show, live, video of what's going on because of obvious copyright issues, what I do is I show as many pictures as possible to update you guys as to what is going on, and I offer a radio commentary of what is going on. By the way, guys, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We do this every race weekend, and we'll be doing it for 2019. Make sure to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen, or click on my channel name and go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel. Ultraman Next is saying there's now a 60% chance of rain. We could get a great session here, guys, as Lewis Hamilton has now started his qualifying lap and is now at the end of the first sector and does a 17.7 for the first sector. So, and now he comes through to the corner he crashed at in his first run of Q1 last year. He's made it through this time and now comes through this very tricky midfield section. So, Ferrari and Mercedes on their laps. I don't think Sebastian Vettel is, but he's about to do one. Kimi Raikkonen has gone faster than Hamilton in the first sector, no real surprise. As Lewis Hamilton now comes out to the final corner and boots it out of the final corner. And now climbs the hill towards the start-finish straight. What can he do as Valtteri Bottas? And well, Charles Leclerc is now fastest on a 1:08.8, but Lewis Hamilton now fastest on a 1:08.4. As Raikkonen still faster than Hamilton, makes a slight mistake on the final corner, but now climbs the hill and should have enough power to go at least into P2. Here he comes, Kimi Raikkonen, as Max Verstappen very fast. And Raikkonen does just about go fastest. Verstappen, by the way, is very fast through the middle sector. Where will he go? He goes fastest by a quarter of a second. So great lap there by Max Verstappen. And Ricciardo goes into P4. By the way, guys, I will update you as to the running order so far in Q1. Once everyone does a lap. As we're just watching a replay here, I guess, of Lewis Hamilton. He's still leaking that oil smoke we saw in practice 3. If you don't know what's going on, guys, basically there was something wrong with the breather pipe. I believe it's, how they funnel the oil out or something like that of the power unit. It's been breathing heavily today, for sure. It has quite a heavy chest, I think we can say, if you understand that analogy. But, right, I'll just throw up another picture for you guys of the cars coming out onto the track here in Interlagos. As we're waiting for the Toro Rossos to set their lap times, and they are starting their laps right now. So we'll wait for them to do their laps, and then I will update you as to what the order is after the first runs in Q1. But here you go, a mad rush to get out onto the track because rain is in the air. But Brendan Hartley is now through the first sector and comes up to the middle sector as Pierre Gasly goes through the first sector as well. And Hartley is now coming up to the part of the track where the sky is a lot darker here at Interlagos. It's currently sunny, but The rain is definitely coming towards this track, no doubt about it. Hello to Raghav Gupta in the chat, great to see him. As Brendan Hartley now climbs the hill, and it doesn't look like he's pushing that hard. Well, he's coming to the line now, and Brendan Hartley goes only 16th. Only 16th for Hartley. Where will Pierre Gasly go? He's got a slipstream here, I believe, on a Sauber. And he now climbs the hill, and Gasly goes only 15th. Toro Rosso not doing that well. So, after the first runs in Q1, this is the running order. I'll just wait for this replay of Valtteri Bottas to end. I think the Haas there, whoever it was, well, I don't think he will get a penalty because Bottas is going to get through anyway, but he'll definitely get a reprimand. This is a replay of Charles Leclerc. What does he do here? Oh, spins the car at turn 11, I think that is. And that's why I think Gasly had a Sauber in front of him. But the running order is Max Verstappen fastest and Raikkonen in P2, as actually Vettel's going for another lap. And Vettel now goes third. We'll wait for these laps to be completed. Valtteri Bottas, I think, has made a mistake in the middle sector as he now climbs the hill towards the start-finish line. Lewis Hamilton on another lap. Bottas is P5. Not that great from Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton is now in the mid-sector. Comes up to turn 11. Looks bang on how it should. Through turn 12 into turn 13. And he's 0.3 of a second behind Max Verstappen. That's quite surprising, to be honest. I don't know what is going on. Maybe Mercedes and Ferrari have got their power units turned down, but that's very surprising as Lewis Hamilton now comes across the line and only ends up in P4. So the order is, guys, Max Verstappen is fastest, from Raikkonen second, third Vettel, fourth Hamilton, fifth Bottas, sixth is Ricciardo, seventh is Charles Leclerc, eighth is Marcus Ericsson, and then 9th is Magnussen, 10th is Hulkenberg, 11th is Romain Grosjean, 12th is Sainz, 13th Alonso, 14th is Ocon, 15th Gasly, 16th is Perez but on outlap. Hartley is in P17, Van Dorn 18th, Sirotkin 19th and Stroll in 20th as Gasly is on another lap. Someone's saying it's raining. I wouldn't be surprised if it is because the skies look very dark in Sao Paulo. But Pierre Gasly is going for another lap. And here comes Gasly. This is a very important lap for Pierre. And he doesn't improve and stays in 15th. Now if Perez improves, and he should, and it does start raining, Gasly's in trouble. He's in big, big trouble. Let's see what Perez can do. Perez, I think, now has started his outlap as now cars coming back out onto the track to try and do another lap time before the rain comes. But as you see on the helicopter shot there, rain is falling in the area, but not necessarily at the track. Right, I'm going to try and post up another picture if I can for you guys. I'll just show you what I'm talking about when it comes to the oil smoke out of the back of Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes. Right, here you go. There is Hamilton's Mercedes leaking some oil. I don't think it's a concern. I think they're just breathing heavily today. I think that's the best way to describe it. But Fernando Alonso is coming through to the start-finish line. Where can Fernando go? He's currently in P13. And he stays in P13. Sergio Perez, who is 16th right now, comes up to the line. Where will he go? He goes up to P10. So Gasly is now in the drop zone. As Van Dorn goes or stays 18th. And Magnussen and Grosjean are on a lap. This will improve their lap times quite a lot. This is Kevin Magnussen. And Magnussen goes up to P5. Very impressive. Ahead of Bottas and Ricciardo as Grosjean goes P8. So, good lap there from K-Mag. Very good lap as Sirotkin is on a lap. But I think rain is starting to fall around the final corner. Sirotkin, though, is doing enough to get into Q2. Hopefully Sirotkin can get into Q2. Be nice to see him having a good qualifying. As he now comes up to the start-finish line. And Sirotkin goes 13th. Very good lap. Charles Leclerc goes 8th. Good lap. Hulkenberg, P11. About what I would expect. So Ocon, Gasly, Hartley, Van Dorn and Stroll are in the drop zone with 6.5 minutes to go. Lance Stroll goes up to 18th though, so Hartley and Van Dorn are 19th and 20th. By the way, Hartley and Van Dorn have set the exact same lap time. By the way, thanks to the over 100 people watching this watch along right now. If you are new to the channel, we do this every race weekend and we will be doing it for 2019. So don't forget to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen or click on my channel name. Go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel for more like this. As Ocon is now in the middle sector, there's cars all over the place trying to set some lap times. Ocon needs to set a good lap. Locks up in turn 11, but the car just about made the corner, so I don't think he lost that much time there as he now comes up to Jinsao and exits that corner and now climbs the hill. So, Esteban Ocon, where will he go? I think he should climb out of the drop zone. And he does, but he only goes up to P14, so he's still under threat. And by the way, Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel have set the exact same lap time as well. Very close between the teammates today. Just to replay there of Ocon's lockup. I'll try and find another picture for you guys. I'll try and now just show you what the skyline looks like right now in Sao Paulo. It doesn't look friendly at all. But I'll just put it on the screen for you guys as we're being shown replays of the midfield cars. Here you go. Very dark skies. Very dark. If it doesn't rain, then, well, it's never going to rain again in F1, is it? If that cloud does not produce rain on this track, I don't know what to say. But who have we got here setting a lap? Is this Marcus Ericsson? Yes, it is. Ericsson is now coming through to Jinsao, the final real corner of the track. And Ericsson is doing just about enough right now. By the way, there's only 1.5 seconds separating the entire field. Very close. But of course it is a short track as Marcus Ericsson improves his lap time, but only, well, it still is, in P10. This is, I think, Pierre Gasly on his lap. As, is it raining? It looks like it's raining, I'm not sure. But Gasly has to keep pushing because he's in the drop zone with his teammate Brendan Hartley. 3.5 minutes to go. The drop zone in Q1, guys, is, with 3.5 minutes to go, is Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Brendan Hartley and Stoffel Van Dorn. That is your drop zone as Hartley goes up to 15th. So Carlos Sainz is on an outlap. The rain is starting to fall, so I think Sainz might be in trouble here as Pierre Gasly is going to come up to the line and probably knock his teammate out. He does. Gasly goes up to P12. I think it's starting to rain, but will it affect the lap times? We'll have to see. Van Dorn is on a lap. He is currently last. He hasn't improved his first sector. Has he improved in the second sector? He has improved his second sector time, but is not quick enough right now to get into Q2. And Alonso's pretty much as well not able to get into Q2 with the lap times he's doing, as Van Dorn improves his lap time but stays in 20th. Fernando Alonso is currently 18th and stays 18th with 2 minutes of qualifying to go. Carlos Sainz is coming through the mid-sector as Sainz comes up to turn 11. Car looks fine to me in these intermittent weather conditions. Sainz is doing just about enough so far, but because Carlos Sainz has a car that is so slow in a straight line, as he climbs towards the finish line, he's not going to improve, surely. Where does he go? No, 5 thousandths of a second off. Sainz, so far, with a minute and a half left, and I have to say, I think Sainz is out. And Alan Permain on the Renault pit wall, he is the sporting director of Renault, is shaking his head. Very disappointing. As Hartley goes for it again. Hasn't improved on his first sector. Let's see what he does in the second. By the way, if you're just joining, guys, we are in the last minute of Q1. Your drop zone is Sainz, Hartley, Alonso, Stroll and Van Dorn. As Brendan comes up to Jinsao, the final real corner of the track. And Hartley is not doing enough to get into Q2. So I think Hartley will not make it into Q2. Gasly, though, I think will. As Hartley now comes to the start-finish line and stays in 17th. Will Pierre Gasly end up? Will he improve his lap time? Lance Stroll is on a lap as well, but is not doing enough to get into Q2. And Gasly comes up to the line, doesn't improve his lap time and stays in P12. Stroll improves his lap time but stays in 19th. So Sergei Sorokin has made it into Q2. And just as I said in the build-up, I think Sorokin is the faster driver compared to Lance Stroll. I think that's proof. Sorokin 14th and Stroll 19th. Great performance by Sergei Sorokin. Ben McCarthy saying there, what a brilliant Q1 session. That was the best Q1 we've had this season. That was fantastic. Fantastic session. So knocked out in Q1, guys, is Carlos Sainz, Brendan Hartley, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll and Stoffel Van Dorn. More misery for the boys at McLaren. As Alonso's front wing scraping across the ground, he must have damaged it then. There's no way they would be running it that low. Bouncing off the ground there. But there you go. Sainz, Hartley, Alonso, Stroll and Van Dorn out in Q1. Once the results pop up on Twitter for qualifying 1, I will post it on the screen. I'll just put this picture of Lewis Hamilton on the screen for you guys. I'm hoping as the session goes on, the threat of rain or the rain does eventually arrive at the track. I don't want it to be threatening to rain all qualifying session long and then it not to happen. But there you go, Lewis Hamilton. He ended up in P4, I think. Yeah, he did. He ended up in P4 in Q1. Falling out EMS. I hope it rains if Verstappen delivers again. The Rain Man in Brazil must be Verstappen. Still remember his last rain drive magic. Yep, that was a great drive by Max. He will be praying for rain for sure. Simon Cragland. Impressive job by Sorokin. He also had some amazing qualifyings in Monaco and Germany. I can't remember his qualifying at Hockenheim, but Monaco I do remember because at a track where they usually struggle, Williams, Sirotkin was it 13th or 12th? Very, very good by Sergei Sirotkin. But Q1 is over, and Q2, guys, will start in, I would say, probably 2 or 3 minutes' time. So Q2 is going to start very, very soon. Falling out EMS, if it rains, if Verstappen gets the youngest pole, it would be sick. I'd love to see it rain as well, because I want to see Max versus Lewis and versus Sebastian as well in the wet. Go Kimi. Kimi was good in Q1. Simon Cragland, Magnussen's lap was amazing. Fantastic lap. It was only a quarter of a second off Max Verstappen, who was fastest in Q1. I've just shown some replays on Sky F1 of the drivers struggling in the intermediate conditions, I think we can call it. Gina, do you think Hartley needed to be in Q2 to have a chance for a seat? Yeah. I mean, I don't think this qualifying session is make or break, but he needed to be at least, 13th, 14th today to actually impress his bosses. Force India seem to be struggling. That's in Will F1. Yeah, they are. They're not doing well at all. Force India, normally at this track, will be the best of the midfield, but they look 6th or 7th fastest. I don't know what's happened to them. But, well, we'll see in Q2. Maybe they'll surprise. Who knows? Are they showing rain on their screens? It doesn't look like it's raining right now. If it is, then it's spitting, but it's not properly pouring it down like we want it to. Hope Ferrari take the Constructors' Championship. That's a Hendrick. It would be nice to see it go to Abu Dhabi, because at least then that race actually means something and is not just a final race for no reason. Ben McCarthy desperately wants it to rain, saying just rain for God's sake. We all feel the same way, mate, don't worry. But Q2 will be getting underway in about 2 minutes' time, I'd say. Simon Cragland, what do you make of Sainz's performance? He should have performed better today. Absolutely. He had plenty of time to get a good enough lap in. It was dry throughout the entire, pretty much, of Q1. I mean, at the end it was starting to rain, but no real excuses. He should have been at least in like P13 or P14. But there you go. Sainz struggling. And I don't think he's going to have the greatest race either, as Q2 is about to get underway. So 2 Sauers are waiting at the end of the pit lane. I'm just about, guys, to throw the results of Q1 on your screen. So let me just get that up for you guys. Here you go. So, in qualifying 1, knocked out is Carlos Sainz, Brendan Hartley, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll and Stoffel van Dorn. But Max Verstappen fastest by 1/4 of a second. That is a surprise. We'll see what happens in Q2 though. Let's see, as the green light will be appearing very shortly. By the way, to the 200 people watching live right now, we do these watch-alongs for every single F1 race weekend, and we'll be doing it for 2019 as well. So if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen, or click on my channel name and subscribe to the channel by going to my channel page. Be great to have you along in our great community. It really would. Will F1 Verstappen dominated Q1. I won't say dominated, but the middle sector was definitely eye-catching from Max. And it looks very likely to rain, as basically all of the cars, or almost all of the cars at the end of the pit lane, coming out onto the track now to set a lap in Q2. By the way, what tyres will... Well, Valtteri Bottas is on super soft tyres, but what tyres will the top two teams go on to? Hamilton, super soft tyres. I think they're going to go on super softs because the midfield is too close for them to take that risk. As Pierre Gasly comes out, Bottas, and the last man, or the second to last man, is Lewis Hamilton. What is going on with Verstappen? He's on steroids. Hopefully he's not. But yeah, he's performing like he if he is on steroids, it's not a surprise because he is doing so well so far in qualifying. John making a great point. Here comes a hectic track. Indeed, as everyone is now on an outlap. So, I think Max Verstappen... or no, not Max Verstappen. I'm just thinking who's at the front of the queue. It should be Charles Leclerc at the front of the queue. Because obviously F1's desperate to set a lap time with the rain coming, as Charles Leclerc now heads down to turn 4 on his first lap in Q2. 17.7 for the first sector. That's actually very, very good from Leclerc. And now comes up to the mid-sector. Ericsson actually went faster than Leclerc, though, in the first sector. Interesting. And Kimi Raikkonen has come in for a pit stop and put on the soft compound tyres. Ferrari bottle alert. Yeah, I have to say it, guys. I think they might be bottling it here with Kimi Raikkonen. I'm just going to say it. That might be a mistake, what they just did there. As Charles Leclerc now comes to the start-finish straight. And comes over the start-finish line. And goes fastest 108.7. Don't worry, LATV, I know exactly what you meant by that comment. I'd probably say the same. Ericsson, though, goes fastest on a 108.5. And Magnussen is third fastest. As Nico Hülkenberg goes fourth fastest. Who is this? Ocon, third fastest ahead of Magnussen and Hülkenberg. Sergio Perez is coming up to the line right now and goes third. Max Verstappen comes up and goes fastest by half a second ahead of Ericsson. Daniel Ricciardo goes second, just behind Verstappen. Pierre Gasly, P4, great lap by Pierre Gasly. Valtteri Bottas goes fastest by 0.3 of a second. Lewis Hamilton just behind in second. Sorokin, P12, the slowest of everyone who's done a lap. And Raikkonen is now on his lap on the soft compound tyres, but now has loads of traffic. So this might interfere with Kimi Raikkonen's plans, and just look at that. He's now having to go past all of these cars on his qualifying run. So I'm not sure this is going to work for Ferrari. Hopefully it does. As he now comes through the mid-sector, you don't want to have traffic here. And he's come across a... Yeah, that's cost him a bit of time. The hesitation coming into turn number 8. And now comes up to turn 11. Raikkonen should do enough here, though, to get into Q3. Vettel also on the soft compound tyres. Kimi Raikkonen, 0.4 of a second off in the mid-sector as he now climbs the hill towards the start-finish straight. Where will he go on the harder compound? 4th. That should be enough. And with the fastest final sector, just shows you the Ferrari is the fastest down the straights. That should be good enough for Q3. That should be. As who's coming out soft tyres? And Red Bull, I think of Ricciardo, as Vettel very fast in the mid-sector on his soft compound tyres, and now climbs the hill towards the start-finish straight. I think Ferrari have turned on party mode to make sure they get into Q3 as Sebastian Vettel goes second, half a tenth behind Bottas. So Ferrari are very, very quick. Hulkenberg is on a lap, but is not improving. But where will he go? Yeah, he stays in 13th place. By the way, Romain Grosjean has not set a lap time for some reason. I don't know why. But, and Will F1 saying that, amazing from Vettel. Yeah, I would. I'd say that's amazing as well. To be that close to Bottas, who's on super soft tyres, that is amazing. Balls on the track here, that's some falling out EMS. Oh, what happened there with Lewis Hamilton? Oh, I think Hamilton might be under investigation there for a blocking penalty. And then Hamilton passed Sirotkin, and then Sirotkin tried to pass Hamilton down into turn 1. I think Hamilton might be in trouble there. And then Raikkonen had to pass Hamilton. I think Lewis Hamilton might be in trouble with the stewards after qualifying for maybe a blocking penalty. He definitely blocked Sirotkin. So, yeah, might be in trouble there. As Verstappen and Ricciardo, who are 4th and 6th, are both out on track, trying to go faster on the soft compound tyres, but they're not so far. We'll see what Verstappen can do after the middle sector. He's done a purple middle sector, just shows you how fast the Red Bull car is in the corners. And now Max heads towards the start-finish straight. Will he improve on his lap time? If he does, he will start the race on soft tyres. And he does improve his lap time, I think. And stays in P4. Ricciardo, 6th, but doesn't improve his lap time, I don't think. I don't think he improved. As Magnussen, who's 13th, is now trying to get out of the bottom 5 here in Q2. But with 7 minutes to go, guys, as I'll just watch this lap from K-Mag. And he goes up to P10, but only just. So, the field right now in Q2 is Bottas fastest, Vettel 2nd, Hamilton 3rd, Verstappen 4th, Raikkonen 5th, Ricciardo 6th, Grosjean 7th, Ericsson 8th, Gasly 9th, Magnussen 10th, and then the drop zone for Q2, as Lewis Hamilton is going very slowly in the first sector. Maybe it's raining again. The drop zone is Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, and Sergei Sirotkin. But I think it might be raining because the Mercedes cars have gone out on soft tyres, but they've slowed right down. Interesting. Raghav Gupta makes a good point. Top 10 within 1 second. They are. Actually, the top 13 are within a second. And is that raindrops? I don't know what they're showing there. They're just showing a sky. Oh, they're showing the lake in the middle of the track. I thought they were showing the sky then. It's the same colour as the sky right now, to be honest. But 6 minutes to go in Q2. The drop zone, Leclerc, Perez, Ocon, Hulkenberg, and Sergei Sirotkin. Guys, in the chat, who do you think will be knocked out in Q2? I think both Force Indias will be knocked out, and I think Pierre Gasly will, with Hulkenberg and Sirotkin. Put in the chat right now who you think will be knocked out. And by the way, thank you to the 250 people watching live. Again, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. We do this every race weekend. On the bottom right of the screen, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel. So now the top teams, I don't think are going to go out again. Daniel Ricciardo, though. Oh, by the way, Verstappen and Ricciardo did not improve on their lap times. So, the Red Bulls will start the race on super soft tyres. And so will Mercedes. But the two Ferraris will start on the softs. So, yeah, that's not good. That's not good for Mercedes. Because Ferrari will have a massive advantage when it comes to tyre wear. And as Tonka Toy Truck says there, also don't forget to join our Discord server. That is the best way to get notifications for my videos is the Discord server. A link below to that server. It's right at the bottom of the description. It would be a pleasure to have you in our Discord community. Apparently now it is raining, but to be honest, I don't know really what to expect anymore from this weather, because it's raining 1 minute and the next minute it's fully dry. But I'll just show you guys a picture of the mad queue to get into or get out onto the track at the start of Q2, as it does look like the rain is falling very close to the track. Could we get a wet Q3? That would be thrilling to see. But I'll just put this picture on the screen for you guys. If I can get it. There you go. So that was the mad rush at the start of Q2. Rightfully so. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the weather. So, Tonka Toy Truck. What's going on with Force India? I don't know. They should be fast here. They really should. But they're not. They're nowhere near where they should be. They should be around where Grosjean and Ericsson are in P7 and P8. They should be. They've always been good here, but this year they don't seem to be good at all. I don't know what's going on. I think maybe they've just given up on the car development-wise ever since the Japanese Grand Prix. That's what I think's happened. With the track, 40, I think he's saying degree. I think John is saying in the chat there. I can't quite see it. It will dry quick. True. But I think it is spitting with rain at the minute. Raghav Gupta, no one improving now? No, no one's improving because, well, no one is out on the track with 2 minutes to go. And I don't think anyone is actually going to go onto the track because the track condition is not good enough for drivers to improve their lap time. So I don't think it's suitable enough for the drivers. And yet, 2 minutes to go and there is no one. Oh, Charles Leclerc is out onto the track, sorry. So it's Hulkenberg, Perez, Sirotkin is not going out. Absolutely not going out. Who else is going out? So two Force Indias, Charles Leclerc and Hulkenberg are not, or are, sorry, going out onto the track, but the rest are not. Oh, you got Vettel out on track, Gasly. So some cars coming out to try and improve their lap times, except for Sebastian Vettel. He's just trying to set his car up for Q3. So, a minute to go. The drop zone is Leclerc, Perez, Ocon, Hulkenberg and Sergei Sirotkin. As Charles Leclerc starts his lap, I think. I think he's on his lap. As climbs towards the line. I'm not sure if he's on his lap right now. This is a replay with Leclerc talking over the radio. Maybe he's telling his team that it's too wet. I don't know. But Charles Leclerc, well, he has started it now. What can he do? Can he get into the top 10? As Frederick says, the track is 32 degrees. Okay, that's warm enough. As Leclerc comes to the first sector, not quick enough. 2 tenths down. That's not quick enough. He had to be basically equal in that first sector, but he's not. As he now comes through the mid sector, The mid-sector time will prove if it's too wet or not. Because, of course, that is where all the corners are at this track. Perez also has not improved on his first sector time as Charles Leclerc comes through that very long left-hander to turn 13 to Jen Sao. Oh, he's so close to Magnussen. Only half a tenth behind. Can he do it? Can Charles Leclerc make it into Q3? Comes to the line and goes up to P8. Sorry about my throat there, guys. Very sore. Charles Leclerc goes up to P8. Very good lap by Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez is pitting. He's not improved. So Sergio Perez is out. What can Esteban Ocon do? Can he get out? No, he can't. He is 13th. So Force India P12 and P13. Hulkenberg is 14th. Pierre Gasly is 10th. Where's Magnussen? Is Magnussen even on the track? I don't think Magnussen is on the track. And if that's the case, then Haas have bottled it there for Kevin Magnussen. And I'm sure Mr. Simon Crackland in the chat will be so angry. But it looks as though knocked out in Q2 is Kevin Magnussen, Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, and Sergei Sorokin. So Haas out in Q2 with one of their cars. Yet Magnussen is out. Such a shame. They should have gone out again with K-Mag, absolutely. He was too close to the dropout zone for them to take that risk. Way too close. And Will F1 makes the point. Ocon will start from 18th because of his gearbox penalty. So Esteban Ocon will start in 18th place. Arc Invider Hamilton grid penalty. I don't think that's been confirmed or anything. If that's your opinion, then okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a grid penalty. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And to be honest, he probably should. Because he did block Sorokin. Absolutely. But there you go. But knocked out in Q2 is Magnussen, Perez, Ocon, Hulkenberg and Sergei Sorokin. Some big names in the midfield going out. A Haas and a Renault and both Force Indias. I didn't think I'd be saying that. Coming into the weekend. I'll just share that message as Scuderia D is very happy about Charles Leclerc getting into the top 10. Once again showing why he is in a Sebastian Vettel. What is going on there with Sebastian Vettel at the Weighbridge? They're just showing a replay of Vettel at the Weighbridge, and then I don't know what's going on with Sebastian there. They're showing it on Sky F1, Sebastian Vettel waving his hand at an FIA official at the Weighbridge and then driving back off it again. So I don't know what's going on there. But John says Hamilton did it twice, driving slowly on the racing line. Yeah, that is... I think the Raikkonen one was just about okay because at the end of the day, Kimi Raikkonen does get a slipstream from Lewis Hamilton, so he doesn't lose out really that much. But the Sorokin one, absolutely. Lewis Hamilton blocked him. So I wouldn't be surprised, and to be honest, I probably would give him a penalty. But I'm not sure he will get a penalty because Sorokin realistically was never going to make it into Q3. But we'll see. As on Sky F1, they're just analysing that. By the way, guys, I will throw up on the screen the results of Q2 as soon as they appear on Twitter. As we will then be heading towards Q3, which starts in... probably 5 minutes at most. So Q3 will be getting underway very shortly, guys. What are your final predictions? Remember to put those in the comments and the chat. Scuderia D, I think he could get a penalty. Same with the Haas. Yeah, we'll see. Lots of controversy now in the chat about the Lewis Hamilton blocking there. I think it was probably a penalty. I think it probably was, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did not give him a penalty because Sirotkin didn't make it through, nor was he expected to. I'm not saying that's why I wouldn't give him a penalty, but I think that would be the reasoning as to why they wouldn't give him a penalty, is that you're in a Williams, you weren't going to make it through anyway, but there you go, we'll see. If they give him a penalty, at the end of the day, you can't really argue against it. He's broke the rules. You cannot block the track like Lewis Hamilton did. But here you go, guys. Let me just enlarge that. This is the results of Q2. So knocked out Kevin Magnussen, Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg and Sergei Sirotkin. But we now have Q3 to get into. Simon Troop, Max on pole if it rains during Q3. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Just looking at you guys talking about Lewis Hamilton there. Raghav Gupta, it's not about the lap time. Sirotkin could have crashed into Hamilton. It's dangerous. I'm not saying that's why I wouldn't give him a penalty. I'm saying if the FIA do not give him a penalty, that's the reasoning I think they'll give, is that Sirotkin isn't going to get through anyway. Because if that's not the answer they give, then what argument does the FIA have to say that Hamilton should not have got a penalty from their point of view? Again, I don't think that should be a reason, but I think the FIA will probably give that as a reason. If they don't, punish Lewis, but they should, I think. That was quite dangerous from Lewis. Sergei went onto the grass, and, well, if Sergei didn't react in time, Lewis Hamilton would not be competing any further in qualifying, because his rear wing would be flying towards the barriers with his car. But Q3 is soon to get underway. It actually is now underway. So Q3 has started. 12 minutes to go until the end of Q3. Will Lewis Hamilton get a penalty? And will it affect where he qualifies? Will that whole issue affect where he qualifies here in this final session? I think, is it Debbie Smith in the chat? Like, he didn't give him one for going over the grass when illegally entering the pit lane and pulling back out onto the racetrack. Yeah, I know. But the thing is, with the FIA, you can't compare incidents when it comes to the FIA because they are not consistent when it comes to applying the same rule for certain drivers. They are not consistent when it comes to that. So I wouldn't compare it to other incidents because, again, they don't have consistency with what they do. Just looking at some more comments about Lewis Hamilton here. That is a poor excuse to not give them a penalty. It is. But again, if they don't, that's going to be their excuse, I think. And it's not a good excuse. He should get a penalty. He absolutely should. And if they don't, then they're not applying the rules correctly. You can't do that in an F1 car. Yes, it's a miscommunication, but What he did, Lewis, was more dangerous than what Sebastian Vettel did in Austria with Carlos Sainz. Vettel didn't move his car in Austria on the exit of turn 1. In Austria, Sebastian basically just went too slow on the exit. He didn't turn his car, you know, left or right. Lewis turned sharply to the left and almost forced Sergei Sorokin to have a massive crash. So, yeah, Hamilton should get a penalty, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know, thinking about it more, yeah, he should. He really should. If Vettel gets a penalty for what he did in Austria, then Lewis Hamilton should get a penalty for what he did there. I'm sorry, I have to say it. But we're into Q3 now. Let's concentrate on Q3 as we are now getting drivers out on the track. The two Saubers of Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson, who made it into Q3, are on their laps as I speak. Hamilton should get a 10 place penalty or a 5 place. Yeah, it's either going to be 5 or 10 places. It'll probably be 5 places. But there you go. So, Charles Leclerc and Marcus Ericsson are on their laps as Kimi Raikkonen now starts his lap. Climbs the hill on the super soft tyres as the sun is starting to come back out, so it's not really wet at all at Interlagos. Raikkonen into turn 1. Car looks very good. He clumped the curb a bit on the inside there, but I'm not sure if that lost him any pace. As now he runs down to turn 4 and does, as Leclerc goes fastest on a 1:08.4. Kimi Raikkonen already a quarter of a second faster. As Ericsson goes faster than Charles Leclerc. Ericsson very fast. Very, very fast. Vettel very fast as well in the first sector. And now Kimi Raikkonen comes through to turn 11. And comes now to Jinsao, the final real corner here at Brazil. And it looks good so far. Valtteri Bottas has done the fastest first sector. As Raikkonen now comes to the line, what is this going to do? It's a 1:07.4, very, very quick from Kimi Raikkonen. What can Vettel do on his first run in Q3? Comes to the line and goes fastest by almost a tenth on a 1:07.3. What will Valtteri Bottas be able to do, and Lewis Hamilton, as Vettel? They're showing a replay of him going wide, but he didn't lose any time there. As Bottas is coming up to the line, and so is Lewis Hamilton. Bottas goes second, ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. And now Lewis Hamilton goes fastest by almost a tenth of a second. Max Verstappen comes up to the line and goes P5. That's realistic for where the Red Bull is in a straight line. And Ricciardo goes into P6. So at the end of our first runs in Q3, it is Lewis Hamilton on pole, provisional pole position, from Vettel second. Third is Bottas. Fourth is Raikkonen. Fifth is Verstappen. Sixth, Ricciardo. And then 7th is Ericsson, 8th is Charles Leclerc, 9th is Grosjean, and 10th is Pierre Gasly. Sauber are flying in Sao Paulo. But Hamilton, at the minute, on a controversial provisional pole position with 6 minutes left in Q3. So, Ferrari, they've got to produce more, I'm afraid. They have to get pole. Them not getting pole, I'm afraid, is not good enough. They have to get pole position. There is no excuse for Ferrari here, in my opinion. LATV, no, Vettel has not spin. The dresses, or the stress, sorry, is over. Raikkonen, let's go. That's from Ben Hall. Raikkonen's not that far off pole, only a tenth and a half. So Raikkonen can definitely improve to, say, at least third place. And Vettel should, for me, be on pole at the end of this session. The Ferrari is the faster car. Hamilton so far just has produced a better lap. Say Rugara, will there be rain tomorrow? I believe it's 50-50 as to rain, so we'll see. By the way, guys, just to let you know that I will stay on for half an hour after qualifying ends to react with you guys to what's happened in qualifying. And then, guys, at 9 PM UK time, so that's in about 3 hours time, I will go live for a 1 hour full review of qualifying. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and join me for that to review what has happened in qualifying at Sao Paulo. But we have 4 minutes left in Q3. 4 minutes to go for this shootout for pole position. Swag Nation says it stopped raining. It has. It has. I don't think the rain is going to affect the end of this session. I don't think it will. And if the rain does come, it'll be after qualifying finishes. Scuderia D says Sauber is the new 2017 Force India. Right now they do look like it. They're so fast. So fast are Sauber. Simon Troop saying Sauber looking very good today. They absolutely are. John saying party mode engaged. Absolutely. Ericsson is on another level, sorry, today. That's from Swag Nation. Yeah, Ericsson, this has been one of Ericsson's best qualifying performances of his F1 career. I can't remember him being this good. I really can't. Hello to Candice Diaz. You've joined us at a great time because there is 2.5 minutes to go in Q3. The final runs in qualifying, the shootout for pole position, shall commence. As they're now coming out onto the track, I believe. Red Bull waiting to come out onto the track. So, here we go. Say Rugara, why does nobody speak about Haas? They've improved massively. Yeah, we don't speak about them enough, but at the end of the season, I will make sure in my end of season reviews to make that point that Haas have improved a lot compared to 2017. Ben McCarthy says he's got to go. I'll be back at 9. See you, Chaz, and see you guys. Yep, see you until 9 PM. As now, the Mercedes, the Ferraris, everyone out on track for the final run in Q3. Who will be on pole position? Who will be best of the rest in the midfield battle? Let's find out. As we have just over a minute left. So get ready, guys. It's going to get very, very hectic and exciting. As Valtteri Bottas will be the first out of the top teams to do his lap. Then it will be... it's a Red Bull, I can't quite see. Lewis Hamilton is third in line. And then I believe the Ferraris are more towards the back. But here goes Lewis Hamilton now on his qualifying run. Up the hill he goes as Valtteri Bottas is already in turn 1. Let's see what Bottas can do. Of course, got pole position last year. Can he do it again? Valtteri Bottas coming down to turn 4. And, oh, he's so close to being faster than Hamilton. 15 thousandths of a second slower than Lewis. Valtteri Bottas Oh, that Mercedes looks fantastic through that fast right-hander. Fantastic. Now comes through turns 9 and 10. Now up to turns 11. Lewis Hamilton also has not improved in his first sector, but Kimi Raikkonen has. Valtteri Bottas comes up to the middle sector and is 11 thousandths of a second off. He couldn't be any closer. And now comes up the hill, does Valtteri Bottas. To the start-finish straight. Where will he go? Valtteri Bottas stays in third place. That's disappointing from Bottas. He could have been quicker. As Max Verstappen is fifth. Lewis Hamilton improves and stays on pole position, but only improves by 20 thousandths of a second as Kimi Raikkonen comes up to the line and stays fourth. That's disappointing. Vettel comes to the line and is second. So Lewis Hamilton takes pole position yet again. Hamilton on pole. Second is Sebastian Vettel. Third is Valtteri Bottas. Fourth is Kimi Raikkonen. Fifth is Verstappen. Sixth is Ricciardo. P7 is Charles Leclerc. And then eighth. Oh no, P7 is Marcus Ericsson, sorry. And then P8 is Charles Leclerc. P9 is Grosjean. And P10 is Pierre Gasly. But Lewis Hamilton takes pole position by a little under a tenth of a second. But I will say provisional pole position because Lewis Hamilton might be under investigation for blocking here in qualifying. We'll have to see. But it is not going to come across his mind right now as he is on pole right now. And you have to say he did enough when it mattered, as he usually does. When it matters, when it comes to the crunch, Lewis Hamilton shows up. And that's why he is a 5-time world champion. Say Rugara, Vettel's lap though. I don't think that was that great of a lap from Sebastian, I'm being honest. He didn't improve in the middle sector. Vettel did a slower middle sector than his first run in Q3. Vettel could have gone faster for sure. Vettel could have got pole and probably should have. But as we've seen in 2018, when it matters, Hamilton and Mercedes produce the goods more than Vettel and Ferrari do, as Lewis Hamilton takes yet another pole position and builds on his record of poles. But there you go, guys. Your top three is, at the moment, Lewis Hamilton on pole, Sebastian Vettel second, and Valtteri Bottas in third place. But I say at the moment because Hamilton might get a penalty for blocking Sergei Sorokin in Q2. And he should. Because what he did to Sorokin was clear blocking. Right, let's read what you guys have to say then about what has happened. JD Davila, I think it is. Gasly 10th. What do you think of his performance? By the way, sorry if I absolutely destroyed your name. I think Gasly's done well. I think he has. And I think Honda so far have passed the test. Someone's saying that Sorokin maybe was not on a flying lap. I don't know, but it looked as though Sorokin was because he was coming up on Lewis so fast. I don't see why he would be so fast coming up to the final corner, because normally you want to back off and then launch it out of the final corner. But Simon Cragland, honestly, Hamilton deserves a penalty. I agree. I think Hamilton does deserve a penalty. James Eric, if Hamilton doesn't get a penalty, I don't understand F1's penalty system anymore. I haven't understood it since 2015. That's when I started to lose faith in the FIA. And as well, if you guys remember, the 2016 Mexican Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton, of course, at the start there, jumped the first 3 corners. And I thought he should have got a penalty for that because it was clearly gaining an advantage. But there you go. That's the FIA for you. Simon Troop, Ericsson did amazing today. Absolutely. That's his best qualifying performance and result, I believe, of his entire career. Kato, what are the chances of Ferrari winning the Constructors? Not good. Mercedes should wrap it up this weekend. Ultraman Nexus, Sorokin on a flying lap, but screw up on last sector. Well, he screwed up because Hamilton blocked him coming to the very end of the middle sector. Ericsson going to perform better, than ever before because he doesn't have a seat. If he did this in the mid-season, he probably would have a seat, but there you go. I think Ericsson does deserve to be at Sauber for 2019. He has done enough for me, but there you go. Thanks to Debbie Smith. Hopefully, if you are new, you have subscribed, as again, we do this every race weekend. Will F1, if Hamilton doesn't get a penalty, then just ban the FIA permanently. Will F1, if Hamilton and Vettel get penalties, Ericsson could start 4th. What would Vettel get a penalty for? Would it be for the Weybridge thing? Because I'm not sure if he would, but I think Lewis Hamilton should get a penalty. John, Hamilton will get a penalty or Ferrari will protest. Yep. Ferrari should, because it's clear that Hamilton blocked Sergei Sorokin. Rico Isaac says that Hamilton did not see him coming. I'm afraid that's not a good enough excuse because you have, when you're in that position, when you're coming to the final corner before you start your lap, you have to be looking in your mirrors because a fast guy, and also the team are at fault for this because they need to be telling Lewis where other cars are so he doesn't get a penalty. But, yes, maybe he didn't see him coming, but I'm afraid that's not a good enough excuse. He should anticipate, with the speed he was going at, that someone was going to come up on him very quickly. And also the team as well are at fault because they should be telling Lewis to get out of the way because there's a Williams coming up. Niblo's just joined, saying he's just woke up. You've missed a controversial session. I'm sure you'll learn about it in the next couple of hours. Remember Austria this year with Vettel, you guys? Yep. And I said a few minutes ago, if Vettel gets a penalty at Austria for what he did, Lewis has to get a penalty. No doubt about it. What Lewis did was worse than what Vettel did. No doubt about it. If Lewis does not get a penalty, then, what even? How does that make sense? How does that make sense? Slowing down on the exit of a corner, for me, is less dangerous than sharply turning towards where a car is going to. He has to get a penalty. He has to. But there you go. Max Clayton saying he agrees. Will F1 Ferrari should protest Hamilton's win in Germany and get him penalised? Well, the FIA did investigate him for what he did there, but they found nothing wrong. How are the constructors' points counted? They're counted based on the race results. Qualifying results do not count points-wise towards the constructors or the drivers' championship. You do not get points for qualifying. You only get points for the Grand Prix. John saying Lewis did it twice this session. I think with the one with Raikkonen was fine for me because at the end of the day, Raikkonen did get a bit of a slipstream on Lewis, so he would have not lost out really anything because of the slipstream, but Sirotkin almost had a massive accident with Lewis. Gina says Sirotkin was on an out lap and not a hot lap. Do you have confirmation of that? Anywhere I can go to find confirmation of that? Because if that's true, then, you know. But still, even if it's not a flying lap, that's still dangerous. That's still a dangerous thing to do, even if it wasn't a flying lap. Scott Gaming says he got his predictions right. Hamilton first, Vettel second, Bottas third. Indeed, you did. Scott Troop, do you think Red Bull will get a podium in the race tomorrow if Vettel and Hamilton get penalties? No, I don't think they will. Even if they do get penalties, you know, Red Bull are not quick enough in a straight line. Right, I'll just take a look. If there's anywhere on Twitter, guys, you know, where I can find confirmation for myself that he wasn't on a flying lap, then let me know. But just looking at some more comments about qualifying here. I will stay on, guys, I don't know, for another however so minutes. I just want to react with you guys to what's happened here in qualifying. Max Clayton, to give Vettel a penalty now and Kimi the way he is going, it's literally giving Mercedes the constructors. Mercedes are going to win it anyway, even if Ferrari don't get penalties. Andrew, a 5-time champion does not need to block. Yeah, again, I'm trying to look on. Let me just have a quick look on Twitter a minute, guys, because I want to find confirmation of this before I, you know, start making claims. So let me just have a quick look. Yeah, it looks as though for me on Twitter that Sirotkin was on a hot lap from what I'm seeing. And by the way, Daniel Ricciardo, just to let you guys know, starting P11 because of his penalty for his turbo change. Just looking at the... So, Sirotkin apparently, and this is from Will Buxton, Sirotkin says Hamilton is a champion and knows what he's doing, says he believes he was just trying to give him the racing line which he hadn't expected, says it didn't cost him anything in the end. I think that sounds like he's not going to get a penalty, but I think he should. I really think he should. And by the way, Sebastian Vettel, I've just looked, he's under investigation for damaging the weighbridge scales. That's what he is under investigation for. As we're seeing another replay on Sky F1. So Vettel might get a penalty. And by the way, Vettel has been called to the stewards and Lewis Hamilton has not. Max Clayton, Sky, how biased they are. They are saying that Hamilton deserves no penalty and Vettel does because he destroyed the weighbridge. Yeah. I think that pretty much shows you who they are supporting and who they're not. John, if there is no penalty, I'm finished for this year. Even if Sirotkin says that, it did cost him time. He's lying. It did cost him time. He almost went off the track. Of course it cost him time. It's ridiculous. Like, yes, he wouldn't have got into Q3, but that's not the point. Sirotkin was on a lap. He could have gone quicker, of course, without that. And you know, he almost hit Lewis Hamilton because Hamilton swerved left. So, you know, it has to be a penalty. Has to be. And by the way, just to show how biased Sky F1 is, they're showing replay after replay of Sebastian Vettel on the weighbridge, but they're not showing anything anything to do with Lewis Hamilton and Sergei Sorokin. So I think, again, that just shows you who they support and who they don't. They were on outlaps, idiots. No, I think it's been confirmed. Even Sorokin, I think, has come out and said that he was on a lap. So Sorokin was on a lap. Just looking. Sorokin said it didn't cost him anything in the end. He was on a hot lap. Yep. Yes. This is the thing. I don't understand what he's saying by it didn't cost him in the end, because it clearly did cost him lap time. I mean, did it cost him getting into Q3? No, because he was never going to. But two reasons why Hamilton should get a penalty for that is he swerved dangerously across the track, and Sergei Sorokin, yes, was not cost getting into Q3, but was cost lap time by having to swerve out of the way. It's funny with Curiosity in the chat saying that when a lot of people accuse me of being a fanboy of Lewis Hamilton. So it just shows you how toxic the F1 community can be at the worst times. Raghav Gupta, someone tell me Sorokin, he'll never make it to Mercedes. Swag Nation, we all got a riot if Hamilton doesn't get a penalty. Keep it to Twitter, of course. But yeah, there you go. Very controversial. And by the way, guys, we will get into it in my qualifying review. We will get into it because I will try and collect. I'll try and get a quote from Sorokin if I can about what happened with Lewis Hamilton. So we will go deeper into this at 9 PM UK time. So if you want to chat more about this, then make sure to come along to that. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell for that. Right, I'm going to just put on the screen the complete order of qualifying if I can find it. So just give me a moment, guys. The one thing I need to find out, and that is causing confusion, is was Sorokin on a lap? And I think he was. If you watch the replay, Sorokin was flying around turn 12. So I think he was on a lap. But here you go. Here is the finishing order of qualifying, but not the starting grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix. So Lewis Hamilton is fastest, from Vettel second, Bottas third, Raikkonen fourth, Verstappen fifth, Ricciardo sixth, Ericsson is P7, Leclerc is P8, Grosjean P9 and Pierre Gasly in P10. And then from P11 down to P20 is Magnussen, Perez, Ocon, Hulkenberg, Sorokin, Sainz, Hartley, Alonso, Stroll and Van Dorn. But Esteban Ocon has a 5-place grid penalty, so he will start in 18th. Daniel Ricciardo has a 5-place grid penalty. He will start in P11. Sebastian Vettel is currently in the steward's office, I think, for the damaging the weighbridge ridiculous investigation. And Lewis Hamilton is on pole, and I think he's going to keep it because I haven't seen anything come up about an investigation. But Lewis Hamilton should be given a penalty for what he did. Absolutely. But let me just read out some comments. Scars says, hello, just watched qualifying. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And what did you think of the controversy with Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel? It'd be great to hear your opinion. Just looking. Count B Blah, Lewis has won the championship. Merc will win the constructors. What do you guys expect to accomplish for him getting a penalty? That's not the point. The point is that this season, other drivers, namely Sebastian Vettel, has been punished for less when it comes to blocking in qualifying. So, given what they've, given out penalty-wise for blocking, they should give Lewis a penalty. Surely. But, again, my pesky opinion again, guys. Niblo, if Hamilton doesn't get a penalty, I give up. Simon Craglan, well, Vettel got a penalty for blocking Sainz in Austria, and that didn't cost Sainz anything, so Hamilton clearly deserves a penalty. Yeah. I was just looking in the chat. Life in ME, I think, just said, what did Lewis do? Basically, Sergei Sorokin was on a flying lap, and coming up to the final corner, Lewis Hamilton was slowing down, of course, because he wanted to start his lap. And when Sorokin came up behind Lewis, coming into the final corner, Lewis swerved left, and Sorokin went left, before Lewis, I think, turned, and forced Sorokin slightly onto the grass, and definitely blocked Lewis. Blocked Sorokin, did Lewis. BBC, let's just report he was doing an outlap. I don't see that on here. I've seen people saying he was on a flying lap. I'll try and find confirmation. Again, if I'm wrong, then I'll admit I'm wrong. But still, again, why should Lewis not be at least investigated, even if it's an outlap? Because it was dangerous what he did. I'm just looking through Twitter. There's a lot of people talking about it, of course. I don't know. Lots of confusion. I think some people in the chat, I don't know if they know for sure. But, yeah, I think Sorokin was on a hot lap. From what I'm looking at on Twitter, I think Sorokin was on a hot lap. Count B Blah, lol, your opinion isn't pesky. I'm just, why I'm saying it, because people just hate other people's opinions when they get very hot and bothered in this community. But there you go. And he says, I hope he gets the penalty just so everyone is happy, and then he wins the race. I just want him to get a penalty, not because I don't like him. I don't care who it is. If it was Carlos Sainz or Marcus Winkelhock, I don't care who it is. Considering what other drivers have got penalties for blocking this season, to be consistent, he should get a penalty. That's all I want, is consistency from the FIA. That's all I want. I don't care that it's Lewis Hamilton. I couldn't care less. If it was Marcus Winkelhock or Christian Albers, I don't care. I really don't care. Simon Cragling, do you think Vettel deserves a penalty? No, I don't think he does. I think that's ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, maybe he shouldn't have got, so up in arms about it, throwing his arms about, but I don't think he should get a penalty for damaging the weighbridge. That's ridiculous. The amount of toxicity in this chat, yeah, I know, but people are showing their opinions, and Efron is a bit, hot under the collar. So, yeah, but there you go. That's what happens when controversy happens in F1. Niblo, even if he was on an outlap, doesn't matter, horrifically dangerous. Yep. I wouldn't say horrifically dangerous, but definitely dangerous. So, yeah. I think it's Savritek, because he makes a great point there. not only is Lewis Hamilton at fault, but also his engineer or his team, because they should be telling Lewis who is behind him. They have to be. That's what they're there for, to tell Lewis information he doesn't have access to. So, yeah. Warren M, great to see him. It's clear in the rules, Chaz, is a disqualification under Article 29, I think. Sauber third row. I don't think Lewis would be disqualified. I think he'd be given a 5 or 10 place grid penalty. Sky reported he was on an outlap. I'll be honest with Sky. They're not the most reliable source because, you know, they do like Lewis Hamilton quite a lot. Just looking at Twitter again, because lots of people I follow who are also other, you know, YouTubers and Twitter personalities when it comes to F1. Yeah, a lot of debate going on. So it's not just here. The debate is ramping up. But I'm just looking to see if Sirotkin was on an outlap, but no one seems to be talking about it. So, yeah. But again, even if he's on an outlap, it's dangerous. We will see interesting, however you... Savri, I think it's Savritech says, we will see interesting however you look at it. It is. And by the way, if you want to share your opinion more on this, come to the qualifying review at 9 PM UK time. And we will go deep into the whole blocking thing and the Sebastian Vettel Weybridge stuff as well. So don't worry, you'll have plenty more chances to debate me on this. You'll have an hour between 9 PM and 10 PM. But, right, let me just look through. Plenty of comments. You guys are very passionate about this. Scar's saying Sirotkin was on a outlap. Even if he was on an outlap, it's still dangerous what he did. So he should be at least investigated. I'm just looking at the... I just want to read this out. This is from a person I think you'll know very well, the F1 Word. He just tweeted out, and on Hamilton, whether Sirotkin was on an outlap or not, Hamilton moved towards a faster car. These guys are making split-second decisions. And so those kinds of misjudgments are always going to happen, but it was still dangerous, and I think a penalty would be the right call. Bang on the money. Absolutely bang on the money, he is. And I fully agree. Doesn't matter if he's on an outlap or not. You know, just because if you have an accident with someone and someone's on an outlap, it doesn't, in qualifying, it doesn't make it right. You're still out on track and the rules still apply. Sky Sports are so biased, it's ridiculous. Yep. John, review is going to be great. As far as Vettel, he just needs to buy him a new one. Yeah. Again, I'll say it. Lewis Hamilton deserves a penalty. Absolutely clear. If Sebastian Vettel gets a three-place penalty? Yeah, it was. 3-place penalty for Austria for what he did to Carlos Sainz. Why shouldn't Lewis Hamilton get a penalty? What Hamilton did, outlap or not, was more dangerous than what Vettel did. So, yeah. For me, definitely deserves a penalty. And John saying there, you don't drive slow on the racing line. When it comes to the Raikkonen one, that's fine because Raikkonen has enough time and plenty of time to, you know, go around him. But with the Sirotkin incident, because of the way the corner is, you can't move your car that quickly and get around a car like that at that corner. You just can't. Mike Brown, Hamilton knows how to use the FIA rules loophole. Not sure there is a loophole, to be honest, when it comes to the when it comes to the blocking rules, but there you go. Savritek, but Chaza, if he was on an outlap and his engineer tells him Lewis, Sirotkin is behind, outlap, and Sirotkin come up flying behind Lewis, is expecting outlap pace, not 300% faster, if you know what I mean. What you're saying there is a good point. It's an absolutely a good point. But at the end of the day, when a faster car comes up behind you and you're definitely not going at the same speed, nowhere near the same speed, you have to appropriately move out of the way off the racing line to offer the faster driver behind the racing line, because he deserves it, because he's, going a lot faster, outlap or not. So there you go. Hamilton was dangerous with Sirotkin. That's from Simon Troop. Absolutely. Andrew Drury, what a farce. I can't believe there's not been an investigation. They're investigating Sebastian Vettel for damaging the weighbridge, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. But Lewis Hamilton clearly blocks Sergei Sirotkin and almost crashes into him, outlap or not, but doesn't get investigated. How does that make any sense? Oh my god, I hate the FIA, honestly. I have to say I do. They just don't make any sense. How does that make any sense? It's Max Claydon saying, I'm reading my printed copy of the FIA rules and regulations. Good that you have one. And it clearly states that if a car purposely distracts a faster car, then relevant sanctions must be put into consideration. Well, there you go. He should be, at the very least, investigated. Troll saying he broke the weighbridge because of the flying thing between his legs. Yep, I did see that, but I was trying to concentrate on other things, to be honest. Right, I'm probably, guys, going to read out 3 or 4 more comments, and then I'm going to end this stream, because I do have to get the review for qualifying ready. I'd love to be on for hours and hours, guys, but I do have to get the review for qualifying ready. I cannot wait to do this qualifying review. I'm already pumped up to do it, but I do need to get it ready over the course of the next 2.5 hours. So, 9 PM UK time, guys. Join me for that. Cannot wait to do it. Will F1, I think even unbiased fans are starting to not like Hamilton as he gets away with anything he does. I will say, though, he doesn't give the stewards, a lot to really decide on compared to, say, 2010 or 2011. But I understand why you would feel that way if you feel as though that he should have got a penalty for cutting the pit lane entry at Hockenheim. Right, let me just look at the comments. Savritek, I have race now in iRacing. Hopefully you do well. I know iRacing is a very tough sim game, so hopefully you do well. And yeah, good luck and goodbye. Apparently Vettel is now being seen by the stewards and a meeting is underway. That's from Max Claydon. If he gets a penalty and Hamilton doesn't, wow. Wow. Curiosity saying the operative word is purposely. And then it says, I don't know what you're trying to say there before he says is the deliberate action. It doesn't matter if it's on purpose or not. It doesn't matter. If like with most crashes in F1, the driver that crashes into another driver doesn't mean to do it, but is at fault for doing it because he made the mistake. Most of the time, when it comes to penalties for driving, most of the time the drivers didn't do what they did on purpose. It was just an error. So I don't think them doing it on purpose or anything really matters. Right, I'll read out a couple more. So Andrew Drury, inaccurate stewarding is all a part of the fun these days. Yep, it gets us all going debates-wise. And also Ericsson could start 4th. That would be amazing if Marcus Ericsson started 4th. And Charles Leclerc started in... well, I don't know if Leclerc will start in P5. Depends on other things. Chaz, it's like pulling teeth. Some people just don't get it. Yeah, that's from John. Right, final comment or question in the chat if you do have one, and I'll read it out. Max Claydon, you may need to wait till tomorrow morning for the penalties to be given. No, the penalties, they normally get given about 4 or 5 hours at most after qualifying. So we should hear something tonight. Goodbye to John. Great to have him along. He definitely does have a strong opinion on things, but of course that makes the watch-alongs even better. Right, just looking for a final comment. Goodbye to Max Claydon. Right, I'm going to end on this as well. Thank you to Simon Troop as well. I am going to read out the final comment now, and it's from Warren M. Vettel shouldn't have been weighed in a session but it doesn't then justify breaking weighbridge rules. His engineers should have turned the engine off. You know, could they have done something to prevent that from happening? Yes, of course. But at the end of the day, you know, surely it's not penalty worthy. I mean, come on. Again, if Vettel gets a penalty and Hamilton does not, then I don't know what to say anymore. But anyway, guys, that has been it for this qualifying watch along, the most controversial watch along so far on this channel. Thank you guys for coming along. Has been great as always. We did at one point have 350 people watching live. Great to have you along. Whether you disagree with me or agree with me about certain things, great to have you along and have a debate. And if you want to debate the whole Hamilton and Vettel thing further, turn up at 9 PM UK time for the qualifying review, and we will debate it for, you know, another hour. So there you go. But anyway, that's it for this stream. Thank you guys for coming along. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel for more content like this. We do watch-alongs, reviews, all of that stuff, previews for every race weekend, and we will as well for 2019. So don't forget to subscribe at the bottom right of the screen, or click on my channel name and click onto my channel page and subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell for more videos like this as well. Like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video, and comment down below what did you think of qualifying, and what are your thoughts on the Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel controversy as well. Don't forget to join our Discord server. The best way to get notifications for my videos is the Discord server, and a link to that is down below in the description. It's at the very bottom as well. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110, another great way to keep up to date with me. And check out my website, chazerhd.com, again, to keep up to date with me. But guys, until my controversial qualifying review, which will be coming up in about 2.5 hours time, it's been me, ChazerHD. Goodbye.